JOOLA is known for power, so what's next for them? The Pro 4s aren't about reinventing the wheel, they're about refining the ride. The Pro 4s keep that same level of power and pop as JOOLA's previous 3S series, but with subtle tweaks to feel, balance, and durability that make them better. Hey, this is Braden with Pickleball Effect. Today we're reviewing JOOLA's Perseus Pro 4 paddles, which are their elongated shape and are an iteration of the previous 3S models. For the launch on March 4th, only the Perseus shape will be available in shipping. However, all other shapes will be available for pre-order and will be shipping in April. The paddles will also be dual certified, meaning they have been both USAP and UPAA approved, unlike the 3S models previously, which only had UPAA approval. For this review, I'm going to be doing a head-to-head comparison of the Perseus Pro 4 to the Perseus 3S, and we'll follow up with reviews of the other shapes down the road as I get them. Thanks to JOOLA for sending me these paddles. However, this video is not sponsored by them, and the opinions here are my own, with the intent to help you make informed purchase decisions. These paddles retail for $279.95, and if you find my review helpful and decide to pick one up at any time, then please use my code PBEffect on their website for a discount and to help support my channel. Please note though that this code will only work 2 months after these paddles are released. I'm not going to do codes when they first launch. However, you can use the link in my description to connect your purchase to me and support my channel with a small commission if you want to. In this comparison, I will examine the tech, specs, offensive capabilities, control, and forgiveness of each model. I'll then finish with a market comparison, value assessment, and then answer some common questions that I've been fielding about these paddles lately. Let's start with the tech. JOOLA is introducing what they're calling Tech Flex Power or TFP technology to their Pro 4 models, in addition to the same Gen 3 propulsion core used in their 3S paddles. TFP is essentially added foam in the throat area meant to improve the balance, feel, and sweet spot of the paddles. I cut open a Pro 4 and a 3S to highlight the differences. You can see the added foam here in the throat with the normal edge foam going around it. If you press your finger in the TFP foam, you can tell it's denser than the other foams being used in the paddle. The placement of the foam I thought was pretty smart, and the resulting improvements to the paddle's balance are evident in the paddle's data, so let's take a look at those numbers next. Comparing the static weight, swing weight, twist weight, and balance point of the 16mm models, you'll notice that the static weight is a little higher on the Pro 4, but the swing weight and balance points are lower. This reduction in swing weight and balance is noticeable when playing. The Pro 4 is more maneuverable and easy to accelerate through shots despite the Pro 4 having a higher static weight. Then the twist weights remained the same, which was a little surprising, but at least they were the same. I would have expected a slight bump here with the added static weight. Overall, the Pro 4's numbers are more attractive and approachable than the 3S. One complaint that I had about the 3S Perseus was its higher swing weight and balance point, so it's nice to see that improved. Then with the 14mm versions, we see the same story. We get a reduction in swing weight and balance point while maintaining the same twist weight measurement, though the static weights are more comparable than the 16mm models. Let's compare the paddle's offensive capabilities now. Based on my power and pop test results, both paddles are very similar here, showing nearly identical performance. The Pro 4 models are just as powerful and poppy as the 3S models, but the Pro 4 models are more maneuverable in hand battles and easier to accelerate through the ball on flicks. This gives the Pro 4 models an offensive edge over the 3S models. Overall, both the Pro 4 and the 3S models are top tier in terms of power and pop, with only the Paddletech Bantams, Gearbox Pro Ultimate, and the Proton Project Flamingo coming close in firepower. I thought the 16mm version had easier access to power and pop, while the 14mm version requires more effort to access that power. My spin tests were also very similar between both models, though the 3S has an edge there. The Pro 4s tested in the high 1900s, which is on par for most paddles, but didn't necessarily stand out. Now let's compare the feel and control of these paddles. The 3S models were always unique in their ability to generate power, but they never had the most pleasant feel, exhibiting a harsher, hollow, and stiff feel that some liked and others didn't. I personally wasn't a fan of their feel. However, the TFP tech in the Pro 4 improves this. It feels more dampened with less vibrations and has a smoother, crisp feel to it compared to the harsher feel of the 3S, though still on the stiffer side of the spectrum when looking at the whole market. This change in feel was more noticeable with the 16mm than the 14mm, though it was noticeable in both. The 16mm Pro 4 even started to feel plush to me as I got used to it and put more time on it. While I enjoyed the more comfortable feel of the Pro 4 over the 3S, I wouldn't say it contributed significantly to better control since they are so powerful and poppy, but it was a slight improvement and I felt more connected with the paddle. The paddle's power and pop are high enough that you need to shorten your strokes and concentrate to maintain control. If you get lazy with your footwork or are stretched out, then it's easy to overhit or pop up a ball. I thought the 14mm was easier to control because the power on it was less immediate than the 16mm, which had easier access to power. However, that's just if you compare sweet spot to sweet spot. The 16mm is more forgiving and has a more pleasant feel to it, so most other players I shared these paddles with found that they are more consistent and could control the 16mm better. Ultimately, you're going to give up some control with these paddles in exchange for more offense, but the amount of control you give up depends on your skill level. High-level players will find that they will be able to adjust and control these well enough, and the gains in offense outweigh what they will lose in control. However, players with a less developed soft game may lose more on the control side than what they gain offensively. Now let's look at forgiveness. The TFP technology promised improved stability and forgiveness, but this wasn't entirely the case. I thought the Pro 4 played with the same level of forgiveness as the 3S, but the Pro 4 has a lower swing weight and balance point than the 3S, so the fact that JOOLA was able to maintain the same level of forgiveness while also reducing the swing weight is a win. Generally speaking though, these paddles offer good forgiveness compared to other elongated shapes on the market, and when you compare these to other tier 1 power paddles, then these have an edge when it comes to forgiveness. Okay, so we've been comparing the Pro 4 and the 3S models to each other. Now let's compare the Pro 4 to the rest of the market. The Pro 4 is at the top of the market in combined power and pop. While there are many power style paddles out there, the Pro 4, Paddletech Bantams, Proton Project Flamingo, and the Gearbox Pro Ultimate are the most powerful and poppy options currently available. The Bantams offer more pop than the Pro 4 and offer more immediate offense, but have less top end power and are less forgiving. The Proton Project Flamingo isn't quite as powerful, but has similar pop to the Pro 4. Then the Flamingo is more forgiving than the Pro 4, but is also heavier. The Gearbox Pro Ultimate, once broken in, has power and pop near the Pro 4, but has a much softer impact feel. However, it's not as forgiving and is heavier. All of these paddles cost more than $250 unfortunately, and that's just what you have to pay to get that level of power they offer. However, I imagine we'll start to see more budget-friendly tier 1 power options later this year now that Gen 3 technology is being more widely used. However, there are a few good less offensive power paddle options that are more budget-friendly, like the 11624 Power Series retailing at $170. But if you're looking for big power and pop, I see the JOOLA Pro 4 as one of the better options because of its power combined with forgiveness. And then I think the Bantams offer another profile that stands out in the tier 1 power space with their good maneuverability and extra high pop that makes them uniquely offensive at the net. Lastly, I'll finish here by answering a few common questions that I've been fielding about these paddles lately. So the first one is, are Pro 4 paddles a better replacement than the 3S for the Mod TA? The Mod TA is more powerful than the 3S and the Pro 4 models, so you're not going to get a direct translation there, but the Pro 4 models are lighter than the 3S models. I think the reason a lot of people liked the Mod TAs was because of the high power and pop in combination with their lighter weight. So with the Pro 4s being a lighter profile and better balance there, it's going to be more similar to the Mod TAs than the 3S. And so I do think that these are probably one of the better options to switch to from the TA if you're looking for a replacement for that one. Next question, are Pro 4s going to be more durable? So when I went to JOOLA's pre-launch event for this series, they were very aware of the durability challenges that they've faced with the 3S series and just previous models in general. And that is something they've actively been working on. So the main challenge they've been facing is core crushing. If you don't know what core crushing is, that's when the paddle core gets compromised, gets squished a little bit, and it degrades to a benefit. You're able to get more power with that compressed core. A lot of the issues that cause core crush are stemmed from the manufacturing process. And so JOOLA was harping at the event that they improved quality control measures in their sourcing, double checking that the cores, like the panels that they're getting into the manufacturing, are the exact size they want. The molds they're using are the correct size. And so they've done things to improve the durability of these in the manufacturing process, which is where you want to spend time to fix these problems. But time will tell with these. I've only had these paddles for a week and a half, and so I didn't get to test that as much as I would like, but that is something that they're aware of and are actively trying to fix. Next question, are Pro 4s worth the price tag? So right now, these are extremely expensive, but if you want that top end power and pop, you have to pay for it at the moment. All the other paddles out there that offer equal or close to the same level of firepower as these are also very expensive. Over time, we'll get more tier 1 power paddles down the road as this technology that JOOLA is using continues to filter into smaller brands. But at the moment, if you want that higher, as much power and pop as you can get, you have to pay for it. This is one of them. So yes, it's worth the price tag if you want as much power and pop as you can get. If you're willing to sacrifice some power and pop, there are more budget-friendly options like the 11624 powers that I mentioned earlier. Next question, would you take the Pro 4 over the 3S even though it costs more? So with the launch of the Pro 4, JOOLA is going to decrease the price of the 3S models down to $240, I believe. And so that it's about a $40 difference between the two models. I do think the Pro 4s play better than the 3S models. I'm personally a sucker for a softer feeling paddle. I do connect with paddles that have a more pleasant, more dampened feel to them. And so I do think it's worth the upgrade. And if you're paying this much anyways, to me, it's like, okay, what is $40 more to get the Pro 4? I think the upgrades are enough to justify it. So I do think it's worth the extra cost over the 3S. So last question, did JOOLA improve the handles? In the 3S models that they released last year, the 16 millimeter had a chunkier, thicker handle, and the 14 millimeters had a thinner handle. They did address this. It is better. The Pro 4 16 millimeters isn't quite as clunky. It's a little bit thinner. And then the 14 millimeters is not as thin. It's more normalized there. So they did improve the handles, but they're not molded handles. I hope everyone switches to molded handles down the road, but they do feel better than their past models. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I hope it helped. If you want a more detailed review, you can go check out my website, pickleballeffect.com, and read through my written review of these paddles. Thanks for watching.
It's the mic like a pickleball serve. Kyle backs him up with the slice and a swerve. 3.5 level takes on the curve. Podcast so hot you might just get burned. Pickleball effect, we break it down hard. Braden and Kyle, aces in the yard. Aaron drops in like a hidden wild card. Tune in and play, let your guard be